Hello, everyone. Welcome to the TriStar Gym channel. Today, I'm doing the Conor McGregor, Nate Diaz rematch fight pre-fight analysis. Thank you very much for sending me all your comments and questions. As usual, I'm answering the most popular comments and questions. So thank you all for participating on Reddit MMA and sending me all your comments and questions. I'm also doing a giveaway with my sponsors for this episode. I was supposed to give it to the three most upvoted comments, but it turns out that I started some kind of Reddit war, and I wasn't supposed to do that. So my apologies to you guys for scrapping the thread a little bit. These three prizes I'm about to give away are given away at random through a website that generates random Reddit users that participated on the thread. So I want to start that right away. I want to get that out of the way right away. The three winners for this giveaway. The number one, the first winner the first winner is Fennel Mbak. Fennel Mbak, you win 2 Reebok shirts and 1 Reebok $25 Reebok gift card. PM me your address and Reebok will send you your shirts. Make sure to put your size. What size are you? And we're gonna send you a gift card and 2 Reebok shirts. Thank you for participating, Fennel Mbak. You're the first winner. Our second winner is who's winning the Quest Quest Nutrition products. You're winning Quest bars, Quest protein powder, and stuff like that. We're sending you a nice mix of those products to your house. It's Zach the Wizard. Zach the Wizard, you win the Quest protein powder and bars price pack. Congratulations to you. And our third winner who wins the GOAT massager, the greatest massager of all time, the Tim Tam massager, is I Am Bobby Hill 2015. I Am Bobby Hill. If you have any aches or pains, if you have any knots, if you wrestle, if you do jiu-jitsu, if you do Muay Thai, if you do kickboxing, if you're an athlete of any kind, you're going to love this thing. I use it all the time. All my athletes love it. I've never lent it to one of my athletes who used it and didn't ask me to buy one right away, okay? It's an awesome product. If you have any kinks in your body, muscle, leg, hamstring, whatever, this thing is the world's most powerful handheld massager. It'll blow your mind. Congratulations. I Am Bobby Hill. You win the Tim Tam massager. Please send me your address. PM me your mailing address, and we will send you one ASAP. PM me at Faraz_Zahabi. Faraz_Zahabi. My name with an underscore in the middle. Zahabi. PM me on Reddit. And we will send you your prize. Thank you very much, guys, for participating. And now I will start to answer all your most upvoted comments and questions. Number one most upvoted comment or question is from Blonders1. Blonders1 asks, if you were Conor's coach for this fight, what would your game plan be? Good luck on the podcast. Thank you, Mr. Blonders1. If I was training Conor McGregor for this fight, I would be confident in this fight, because I would tell you one thing that'll make me confident is I believe that Conor has a winning strategy. There is a winning strategy for Conor. Now, if he fights like he fought the last time around, he will lose again. He will lose again, and he will lose bad. And I don't think he'll lose in round 2. I think he'll lose in round 3 and round 4. But if he fights the same way again, if he comes in with the same attitude, he will lose again. And I'll tell you why. Because Conor was trying to bully Nate. And that strategy worked at 145. It's not going to work at 170. Martial arts is not about using your style to bully your opponent. Martial arts is about efficiency. It's about tricking your opponent. It's about being deceptive. It's about hurting your opponent with the least amount of energy. Efficiency is key. When you bully your opponent, you kind of throw that on the wayside. He has a lot of powerful techniques. Conor McGregor generates a lot of power with his counters, a lot of power with his leads. He has brilliant attacks, but he uses them in a manner that's bullying. And now, what does that mean? When you bully somebody, you're not careful. You're not careful. You don't respect the other person's ability to hurt you. You don't respect the other person's ability to withstand your attacks. It's like being a big spender. You got a lot of money, but you're a big spender. Now, when you're a big spender, even though you got a lot of money, how many millionaires have you heard go broke? The analogy makes a lot of sense. If you fight in that method, if you're a big spender, and your spending becomes a habit, and you can find yourself broke, even though you're filthy rich. You started off filthy rich, but now you're broke. McGregor has that kind of fighting style. Well, he had it with Nate. He had it with Nate where it seemed like he felt he was invincible and he could just bully Nate and treat Nate any which way he wants, take the fight any which way he wants, and he didn't have that healthy amount of fear. And that happens to champions. He had just won a world title. He was on top of the world. in terms of marketing, in terms of making money, in terms of fame, etc. He was on top of the world. And that can make you think you're invincible. It happened to many fighters. I've been around many fighters who've gone through the same experience. And he's a young champion. A young champion doesn't know the dangers. He doesn't know the dangers of being champion. How many times do we see the belt change hand? It's very difficult for a champion to become champion and stay champion because he has to go through those experiences. So I would try to get in his ear. I would try to tell him, look, you have to understand this guy is dangerous. Don't think you're gonna bully this kid. You have to have that healthy amount of fear. Now, I know McGregor, Conor, he's got that charisma. He likes to build himself up. He likes to tell himself that he's way better as an opponent than his opponents, that this fight is going to be very different this time around, etc. And that may be the case. That may be the case. But if it's not, it'll be the end of him. And this is why. The worst thing that can happen to you in a fight is to be surprised. The element of surprise is the most powerful thing in the war. If you go to war and you can surprise your opponent, you stun them, you've confused them, he's dead in the water. It's the biggest advantage you can have is surprise. It's not anything else. There's no other advantage greater than surprise, the element of surprise. Now, if Conor goes in there thinking he's going to win and walk through Nate Diaz, like he did think he was going to win, and then Nate Diaz surprises him by being more durable than Conor thought, by being quicker than Conor thought, by being more how should I say, more courageous than Conor thought, more tough. He didn't just fall like those featherweights. He didn't just give up. Like he didn't fold. He's got a dog. He's got that killer instinct, that dog in him. He got surprised, and that's what gassed him out. He didn't gas out because he threw a certain number of strikes. Conor McGregor can throw you an infinite amount of strikes. People made too much out of fatigue in this fight. And there are questions about fatigue, so I'll save that for later. But Conor McGregor got surprised by Nate, and that's why he was confused, and that confusion led to fatigue, and that led to the beginning of the end. If I was Conor's coach, I would tell him every day that this is going to be a hard fight. Prepare to get tooth and nail. Prepare to get your face bloody. Prepare to feel that warm rush of hot blood pouring on your face, because this one is not going to be a quick punch. This one ain't going to be a quick little, fight. It ain't going to be that. Get ready I would get in his ear and I would prep him for a hard fight, and I would get him convinced that he wants a hard fight. And if the fight turned out easy, great. But if the fight starts getting hard, he wouldn't take him by surprise. I would convince him every day that this one's going to be a battle. I would get in his ear and I would tell him that this one's going to hurt, but it's going to be worth the pain, etc. I would scare him, my fighter, to a certain point. Not too much, but I would scare him, and I would get him ready for hell. And if he's not ready for hell and he finds himself in a very difficult situation, we're going to see the same fight, But I think this one is more of a psychological issue is what I'm trying to say. All right, this one's from Mike11. Chael Sonnen said that Conor McGregor lost the first fight because he gassed out. And this seems to be the popular view of what happened. Chael said that given the short amount of time between UFC 196 and 202, that Conor McGregor will not be able to get his cardio to the level that will allow him to fight for 5 rounds. I totally disagree. There's a second part to this, so I'm just going to read the second part. Do you believe that Conor gassed out in the first fight? If so, do you think it's possible that cardio will be dramatically improved for this fight? Will he be able to keep up the pace with that the Diaz brothers are famous for? First thing. Yes, you can improve your cardio in 5 months. Absolutely. If you have proper training, if you have trainers that know what they're doing, can you increase your strength in 5 months? Yes. Can you increase your cardio in 5 months? Absolutely. Cardio is easier to increase than strength. Cardio is easier to increase in strength than strength. Okay, so it's a faster process. Your cardiovascular system will adapt faster to your musculatory system. This has been my observance. Okay, so I'm not worried about the cardio. Conor McGregor, after round 1, rewatched the fight. I watched it this morning. Watch it again. After round 1, he was fully recovered. His coach, John Kavanagh, said, "You're fully recovered. He wasn't breathing heavy. He wasn't slumped over his stool. He wasn't panicked. He didn't have his mouth open. He was talking before the round. He was saying, all day, I'm going to do this all day to you, Nate." He was fine. He went out there and did well in round number 2 till about 2 minutes. 2 minutes in. Then his energy started to plummet. Absolutely. I agree that his energy went from really high to plummeted down really quickly. But I'm going to tell you guys why I think that was. It wasn't because he wasn't in shape. The man was preparing for a 5-round fight versus Dos Anjos, a very high-paced fighter. He was getting ready for a world title fight. The reason why he got tired was a psychological one, in my opinion. Conor McGregor in the octagon is a bully. That's his style. He's a bully fighter. When you bully a bully, think about all the bully fighters that we've seen in MMA. The ones who get in your face, tell you they're going to crush you, that you're nothing, and they're going to beat you down, and that you're a nobody. Think about all the schoolyard bullies you've seen that got punched in the nose by some nerdy kid that they weren't expecting to fight back. What happens to bullies? Sometimes they go from 100 miles an hour to 0 miles an hour quickly. Why? Because, like I said, a bully, if you surprise him, because a bully bullies you because he thinks you're nothing. A bully when he sees you, he thinks you're nothing. And there are different types of bullies, but the narcissistic type bully, who thinks he's so great, he insults you because he thinks you're a nobody. He thinks you're nothing. And when you show him, when you surprise him, when you punch him in the nose, when you stand up to him, if you notice, McGregor started to get really tired when Nate started to talk shit, when Nate started to press him, when Nate started to push him back, when Nate started to bully him. Instead of relaxing and riding out the wave and being composed, McGregor, to his own admission, panicked. When he got bullied, he couldn't handle it. Fighters get bullied in a fight. Like I've seen GSP get bullied in a fight. When he fought Hendricks, he got bullied around physically. He got tossed around. You stay calm. You stay calm. It's part of the martial arts that the other guy has the strength advantage. When you do martial arts, okay, every martial art technique has to be designed with the thought that the other guy has the physical advantage. So if I'm going to block a punch, I have to assume that this will work if the guy's faster than me, stronger than me, longer reach than me. If it doesn't work in these circumstances, it's not going to be really useful to me in my martial arts career. So if I do a jiu-jitsu technique that only works on weaker, smaller guys, it doesn't make any sense. Why would you need the technique anyway? If you're bigger and stronger and you have more endurance and you have all these attributes, just beat the guy with your physicality. So martial arts is designed to kill all that, to minimize it to the greatest extent possible. So Conor McGregor's style is a bully style. He's going to beat you if he's bigger, stronger, longer, faster, and hitting harder than you. His style is going to work. Now, he's a very sophisticated martial artist. He's a smart martial artist. But Nate, and that's why he realized that he said immediately after the fight, I wasn't efficient enough. So instead of going down the martial arts path, he went down the physical path. He tried to bully Nate physically. He admitted it. He said it beautifully after the fight. He said, I was inefficient. And when you're inefficient, you're being physical. You're trying to bully the guy. You think you're longer, stronger, more endurance, more toughness. You think you have all these attributes. You see the guy as less than you. And then you find out that guy has a lot more than you estimated. You're surprised. You thought that guy had less. It turns out he's got way more than you thought. And now you're deflated mentally. You're thinking, wait a second. That mountain I thought I had to climb was here. It turns out that I'm not even close to halfway. That mountain is way further than I imagined. And that is deflating. Because you think you're near the finish line and you realize, hey, no, there's 100 more miles to go. It is psychologically deflating. You get discouraged. In my opinion, Conor McGregor got discouraged. And he also got hit hard. So one, he got discouraged. If you watch the 2-minute mark, He hits Nate, steps back, and takes a deep breath. And he looked like he was discouraged. Then he got hit with a 1-2. So one, he was discouraged. And then he got hit hard with a 1-2. When you get hit hard, it zaps your legs. I don't know if you guys have ever been hit on the button. But I want you guys to go and run on a treadmill. Do your regular workout. And in the middle of your regular workout, have one of your buddies punch you on the chin. Okay? Hard, buzz you, and then get back on that treadmill and keep running and try to keep. You're like, hey, wait, this workout is way harder than When you get hit on the chin, your legs go numb. Okay, I don't know if you guys ever. They don't go numb necessarily. They just wobble. They just don't obey you anymore, and you have to work twice as hard to keep up the same pace, and that's what happened. One, he got mentally deflated because the finish line was further than he knew than he thought. So he thought he was close to the finish line. Then, hey, somebody told him, no, no, no. The finish line that you've been pacing for is 100 miles away. So now you got to keep up this pace. He just paced himself wrong. And then he got hit on the button and his legs were weak. When he got hit with that powerful 1-2, that quick 1-2, and by powerful, I mean he was straight aligned. You don't have to swing your punch. You don't have to wing a punch for it to be powerful. If you align your strike, it is powerful. Okay? If you align it like a battering ram, your position is structurally sound. The force won't dissipate when you hit him. Okay? So instead of hitting a guy with a spring, you're hitting him with a cue, like a pool stick. You're lining it up and you're nailing it. It's powerful. Okay? So he's driving all that force. It was a beautiful 1-2. Nate Diaz has one of the best 1-2s in MMA. Okay? The best 1-2 in MMA, in my opinion. You guys are going to say I'm biased. It's GSP at the best 1-2. There's an art to the 1-2. I'm a big believer in the 1-2. I love the 1-2. Nate Diaz is unbelievable with the 1-2. Nick Diaz is just as good with the 1-2, but Nate has a special way of doing it that I admire and I like very much. It's a beautiful 1-2. That 1-2 is deadly, very dangerous. He put it on McGregor's chin. McGregor's legs gave out, which created that snowball effect. He got even more worried. He got more panicked. His fatigue was more psychological than physical. If he doesn't get ready for a war mentally and that war starts to shape up, that finish line is further than he estimated, he's going to get deflated again. So that's my answer to you. Yes, he can physiologically fix his cardio. Two, there was never really that much of a problem. The guy's in phenomenal shape. You guys are crazy to think he's not in phenomenal shape. Yes, he was inefficient. Yes, but it was a mental issue. He was swinging his shots with more energy than he needed to because he disrespected Nate's ability to fight. He thought Nate was going to go down. And when Nate didn't, he tried to fight more economically and it was too late. He had invested himself too much and he was psychologically deflated. That's my opinion. That's how I saw the fight. Please feel free to disagree with me. I have to disagree with Chael. I think it was more psychological and it was a question of him getting hit on the chin after that just made two really bad negatives. So enough for that for now. So Bobby Banks asks or comments, it's a question. Is winning by decision a realistic game plan for McGregor? Nate's chin and ground game are both top-notch, and even though Conor seems keen on making adjustments to win the fight, is there any way for him to outpoint Diaz despite his superhuman cardio and relentless pressure he can put on with his boxing? Yes, he could. Theoretically, he could outpoint McGregor, but has McGregor ever fought in a way to outpoint a man? No, he's always used to being the bigger, stronger guy. He's always bullied his opponents successfully. He's lost fights. Let's take away the Conor Nate Diaz fight. Let's take that away. He's lost fights, but they were subs, they were 2 subs, I believe. But he's never been bullied. So Nate Diaz was the first guy to bully him. Now, you're asking me, could he outpoint Nate? Yes, if he goes in there with the mentality that he needs to be efficient and be ready for a dogfight, be ready for hell. He's going to be more composed. He's going to be more patient. He's not going to be taken by surprise. He's not going to panic when bad things happen because he's expecting bad things to happen. If he goes in there with that mentality, sure, he can do 5 rounds. The man is an incredible athlete. Conor McGregor is a freakishly incredible athlete. He doesn't have a cardio problem. The man does not have a cardio problem. The man is a freakishly athletic and gifted human being. He does not have a cardio problem. He's a freak athlete. He just has a composure issue. Nate Diaz got hit with bombs and didn't panic one bit. Why? He's surrounded by great world-class 5-round fighters. He spars regularly with Jake Shields, his brother Nick, Gilbert Melendez, guys who have been in 5-round wars countless times. Nate himself has been in 5-round wars. There's a composure, there's a maturity of a fighter that a fighter takes on a certain maturity when he's put in a 5-round war over and over again. How many times do you think Nate Diaz has been in a 5-round war in the gym with killers like Shields? Probably more times than he can count since he's a kid. So he knows the taste. He knows the pace. He knows that you're going to see horrible things in a 5-round fight sparring with these kind of guys. You're going to see horrible things. But he's seen these horrible things so many times that they don't faze him. He has a psychological edge. Nate has a psychological edge. He has the maturity. He has the seasoning. But Conor also can have that. He could bring that in this fight. If he learned from the first one, if he learned that taste of hell in 5 rounds, because you have to understand, They didn't go 5 rounds, but it was scheduled. You have to think that he didn't have that safety net where he says, hey, if I survive another round and a half, I can win this fight. He didn't have that. He'd have to survive 2.5 rounds more, 3.5 rounds more, 3.5 rounds more. Sorry, 2.5 rounds more. It was the second round. So, no, excuse me, 3.5 rounds more, right? So he didn't have that safety net that, hey, it's almost over. Let me push a little more. It was too far. The finish line was too far for him to tough it out. So, yes, Conor, if he changes his attitude, if he goes in there with the readiness to go to hell, he can do 5 rounds. I think you guys are all wrong to say he has a physical issue, a cardio issue. Don't get me wrong, I would get him running, and I know he's running. I'm sure he's running. It's a smart thing to do. 5 rounds is really, it's a different pace. But he didn't get tired in that 7 minutes of fighting, guys. That barely 8 minutes, okay? He didn't get tired because of his cardio. His heart didn't give out on him. The guy's a freak athlete. Next one. Ken Jones, 85. Win or lose, Conor is going back down to 145 to defend his title. How long do you believe he needs to readjust his weight? That's really, really... It might not be easy for him to go down to 145. There's so many big question marks. I think if he does go down to 145, it is going to be hell. His performance is going to be difficult. It's not going to be the same. Because now guys are going to be very wary of round number 1 with Conor. Very wary. If you look at all his fights, he breaks guys in round number 1. Guys are going to weather the storm in round number 1. They have that deep-seated belief that he's going to break in the later rounds. It's going to be a whole different landscape when he goes down to 145. And his body may not react the same at 145. It remains to be seen, but I think 145 is going to be a tall order. Taller than ever, especially if he loses this fight. Especially if he looks human in this fight. I think it's going to hurt him psychologically. Conor McGregor, as we all know, big part of his game is the mental game. Serengeti 1. So a lot of people put a lot of stock in Conor getting submitted to Diaz and say his ground game is weak. How would you rate Conor's ground game? Do you think it's at least competitive against the top-notch guys like Diaz? I felt the sub game came easier because Conor was hurt, tired. Considering you've trained with him, you've probably seen him on the ground more than most of us. Actually, I've never trained with Conor McGregor. I don't know. One of my fighters, Rory McDonald, has trained with Conor McGregor. I was not present for that press conference that they were at. The one thing with Conor is that he showed some really good flashes of jiu-jitsu. When he was on top of Holloway, he did great. When he was on the bottom of Nate, when Nate took him down in round number 1, if you guys remember, he caught McGregor's leg, took him down. McGregor did a beautiful sweep, got on top, looked very composed on top. Nate inverted the guard, closed the inverted guard. So he was in a closed guard inverted. Conor McGregor didn't even look remotely off balanced and was doing great work from the top. Won that round easily. So what was Conor McGregor's real problem? Conor McGregor's real problem wasn't certain positions. It was certain positions, I should say. If Conor McGregor's on top inside the guard, I think he'll be fine. If he's on the bottom and he has guard, Nate's in his legs and Conor's guard is closed, I think he'll be fine. If there's not a lot of time left in the round. Okay, so I think Nate, if he takes him later in the round down and Conor closes the guard, he'll be fine. If Conor gets caught side control or mounted or his back taken or gets caught in a guillotine situation or gets caught in a leg lock situation, he'll get the worst end of it all. Now, if you remember the finish, what worried me about Conor's ground game, because for me, Conor's ground game is hot and cold. It's hot if he's certain positions and it's cold if he's certain positions. When he shot in on Nate went for the guillotine and dropped into a guillotine and ended up topside side control. He went for a guillotine. Conor tried to spin out of it like he did against Mendez. It didn't work. Diaz knew the counter, blocked it beautifully. Great job on knowing the counter. And ended up on side control. But you saw Conor's legs in side control were inactive. So his side control bottom game is the problem. So if I was his trainer, I'd be working on bottom side control. I'd be working on mount escape. I would be working on back escape. Because his problem isn't being in the guard. His problem is not being on the bottom when his guard was beautiful against Nate. He swept Nate beautifully. And then, so the guard is not, top or bottom is not Conor's problem. When he was bottom side control, his legs were in the wrong positions. His legs were inactive. And when he got mounted, his legs were inactive. And when he got his back taken, his legs were inactive. When you're escaping bottom side control, your legs play a major role. And Conor's legs were just not doing what they should do. So for me, he has a positional weakness. He has a positional weakness, and if he gets caught in those positions, I don't think he's made it up the time. So you guys are saying in general, jiu-jitsu, it's not that simple of a question. His jiu-jitsu is good in some places and not so good in other places. Now, when he got caught in a rear naked choke, he tapped before attempting certain escapes. There was still time for escapes. He just tapped. Why? He was overwhelmed. That's the way I see it. His jiu-jitsu defensively is not strong. Defensively. Now, why does that happen? Because certain, I've seen this before. You have a superstar in the gym and guys don't challenge him. Like if you get side control on a certain guy and he's famous, you don't want to piss him off. You don't want to bury him in front of the team. You don't want to, he's the boss of the gym. He's the leader of the gym. You don't want to disrespect him. Now, certain fighters don't like to be challenged in the gym, and certain fighters do like. So, for instance, George St-Pierre, he would love to be challenged. He didn't mind that I put a hit on him. When he would come in the gym, he would tell me, who do you got in your army of darkness today? Who do you got, who's going to come and, who are you sending my way today? Who are you going to crush me with? What's your devious plan? He would ask me. And I would tell him how, we would make a joke of it. I'm telling him I'm sending so-and-so, and this guy, I have him doing this, and this guy's going to catch you with this today. And we made a game of it, and we had a good time talking about how I was plotting against him, and it was a kind of fun game. And I would tell my fighters that if they did so-and-so, if George was fighting a wrestler, or George was fighting a jabber, or George was fighting a kicker, I would tell them, hey, if you guys can do if you guys can do so-and-so to George, I will stop practice and I'll praise you in front of everybody for 20 minutes. I would challenge we'd make a fun game out of it. I would tell guys, hey, if you can, if George was fighting a guillotine guy, for instance, I would tell guys, hey, if you can guillotine George, I'm going to stop class today and I'm going to praise you. And I'm not people who've trained with me, no, I'm not the type of coach that praises a lot. I don't praise a lot. I don't praise my fighters a lot, I tell them, I pat them on the back here and there, but I'm not a praising style coach. I'm more of a coach that kind of gives you details. I like details. I'm a detail guy. I'm a technician. Now, I would jokingly tell my fighters, hey, if you can do so-and-so to this particular guy getting ready for a fight. Now, you guys want to hear me praise you? You guys want to? I'll praise you now. I'll stop the whole class. At the end of class, I'll praise you if you can do it. And it was just a great way for me to know if George was really ready. Because the thing is, I remember when I was preparing for a grappling match. Back in the day when I was grappling. I was preparing for a super fight with a guy with an amazing triangle. This guy was a triangle king, This guy had really flexible legs and was a great triangle guy. And I was wrestling with one of my students, and I was trying to put myself in a triangle because I wanted to escape the triangle. I was literally trying, and he wouldn't put me in I was like kind of putting my hand on his knee, waiting for him to trap me with a triangle, and he wouldn't do it. And I got so furious with him. I told him off. I said, why aren't you triangling me? He's like, I'm trying. I'm like, bullshit. I'm trying to put myself in a triangle, and it's not working. He was avoiding putting me in a triangle. Why? Because he respected me. And he didn't want to sub his trainer, and he didn't want to challenge me. And I felt like, hey, maybe all these times I've been passing this guy's guard and crushing him, maybe it's all been a big lie, Maybe my jiu-jitsu is not so good. This guy is really good. He's one of my top students. I'm rolling with him, and maybe I'm crushing him, not because I'm super good, but because he's being passive and he's letting me crush him. And that kind of pissed me off. And that's not the culture I want in my gym. So I tell him, I would tell guys, I would encourage them, if they can catch me, catch me. Show me you can catch me. Now, I also, when I roll with instructors, I don't crush them. I don't. If I'm rolling with somebody that I highly respect and he's famous and whatnot, I'm not gonna leg lock him. I'm not gonna choke him. I won't. But I'll put him in a full submission. I'll hold it for a little bit and then release him. So that way he knows and I know, and he doesn't have to lose face. So for instance, if I get invited to a gym and I go roll with a black belt and his students are there, I'm not gonna crush him. I'm not gonna tap him out. You won't see him tap. No. But I'll put him in a full leg lock. I have to know, am I able to? He has to know. And then there's a gentleman's agreement. I might release it. I'll show him it's tight. I'll release it. We'll keep going. And nobody has to say, there'll be a doubt whether it was on or not, whether the guy escaped or not. And I'm fine with that. I've found the middle way because I've also found that taking guys, tying them out, choking them really kills the relationship especially a new relationship. Guys don't want to train with certain guys anymore. Why? Because, he tweaked my ankle or he tweaked my neck. He was going too rough. So I find the middle way. I put guys in chokes. They put me in chokes. I know sometimes my students put me in a leg lock. They kind of released it. I know. My students are killer leg lockers. We have world-class leg lockers. And it's going to happen. We roll long enough. I know they respect me, but I'm happy that they put me in it. I'm happy that, hey, they found a little king. So what I'm trying to say is, sometimes when you have a really famous guy in the gym, he never gets put in those positions. And is he thinking in his mind is because they can't put me, but really it's because they don't want to put you. Is that what happened? I don't know. I'm not in the gym. I'm not saying that did happen. All I'm saying is he seemed uncomfortable in these positions that he should be put in on a regular basis. You know, when I roll, I let guys pass my guard sometimes, and I put myself in horrible positions. When I have fighters in the gym, you think I don't make them start in bad positions? I do. Not all the time. You know, you need a healthy mix of good positions and bad positions. But you got to make your peace with being in bad positions. And bad positions take patience, composure, and, you know, you can't panic in these positions. And it looked like to me that he hadn't been in those positions often enough. Why? Because he didn't react in a way that a guy would react if he's been there many, many times. You know, when Nate was getting hit with some vicious overhand lefts, Conor lit him up in round number 1. My goodness, man, he took some horrible overhand lefts. I watched the fight again today. Man, he got cracked really bad. Nate got cracked really bad with a very well-aligned overhand left with the elbow up and the punch coming downwards. It hit him right on the chin. Man, Diaz is hard to kill, man. Really impressive how he could take a shot. Really impressive. And I'm wondering how long his chin is going to last. I mean, you can't take shots like that, jar your brain over and over again. I mean, that's just not healthy. Conor hit him with a crazy overhand left. Powerful shot on the button. And Nate stayed calm. Most fighters would get hit with that, freak out, and start fighting back really hard to try. They would go in fight or flight. They would go in a panic mode. They would try to fight tooth and nail and blow their gas out. They would fight unintelligently. They would panic. Nate Diaz is the more composed of the two, and that's why he did not get tired. Nate Diaz is very mentally composed. You could show him hell, and for him, it's just another Saturday night. He's been through hell so many times that for him, it's just another regular day. So that is his most powerful card, and I think it'll very likely carry him off. And I'll tell you why. Why? Because is this fight going to end in round 1? Very likely not. Very likely not. Nate has only been finished twice, and one of them was a sub. I don't think he gets finished in round number 1. So if it doesn't get finished in round number 1, my next question is it going to turn into a dogfight? Yes, it is. It's going to turn into a dogfight. What I mean by that? Like, we're going tooth and nail. We're sitting in the pocket. Why are we sitting in the pocket? Because it's so high-paced, the fight, that we got to fight in a more economical way, and fighting in the pocket is more economical. And who's the better inside fighter? It's Nate. If you remember, Conor tried to throw a knee at one point in round number 2. And that knee didn't do much, but it cost a lot of energy for Conor, and he started backing up after that. That stuff's going to happen again if the fight becomes a dogfight, because Diaz is the better puncher on the inside, even though he's the taller man. I think it's going to end up there, and Nate's going to be more composed, and he's therefore going to win unless he gets knocked out. Conor needs to knock him out. Nate needs to take it in later rounds. Nate's a finisher. Conor's a finisher. But Nate is more composed, and I think it's going to carry him out again. Next one. Giggle Dicker. Do you think that Nate needs to make any adjustments to his game plan or training? Or should Nate just do exactly what he usually does? I think Nate needs to not get hit with any more overhand rights. You don't know if your chin is going to hold up again. You know? Round number 1, he could have got knocked out. That's how I see it. There was a spinning kick that came kind of really close to Nate's face. I think Conor can knock out Nate with a spinning kick. Absolutely. His spinning kicks are powerful. They are highly dangerous. The crocodile tail, the capoeira spinning kick. This stuff is deadly. You know, you can knock out any man with this kick. I don't care what kind of chin you got. If you get hit on the button with one of those kicks, it could be lights out. So there's that possibility. Round 1, round 2, there's that possibility. The other possibility of KO, there's 2 more in my opinion that they're very strong, is the overhand left that Conor McGregor throws. If you notice, Conor McGregor missed a lot of shots, but the shots he landed hit the temple, the side of the face, the cheekbone. But one or two of those punches really, and particularly one in particular, landed right on the chin. That overhand left can knock out any man. It's a very deadly punch because it comes down from the top to the bottom, so it accelerates faster, and it hits you at an angle that's very devastating. So Nate has to be very careful not to get hit with that overhand left. And how did Nate get hit? For those of you who know you're fighting, Nate got hit hard when he was getting countered. So a lot of times he would let Conor go first. Conor would go first, and he would do that Stockton slap, and he was fine. He wasn't getting hit hard. It's when Nate jabbed Conor, and Conor countered him. So if I was coaching Conor, that first question was a good question. I would tell Conor just to counter. Do not go after Nate. Just let him come to you and counter him. You have more speed. You have more precision. And just counter Nate. And surf that wave. Whatever Nate gives you, surf that wave. And I think he will come out victorious. I would get him ready for a hellish fight, etc. But Nate, on the other flip side, you're asking me what Nate needs to do. Nate needs to not get countered. He needs to not let his jab get countered. And I'm sure Richard Perez is all over that. That jab is his biggest liability. Nate Diaz's jab, when he throws it, he was telegraphing it a bit. He was getting countered. He needs to polish that up. He needs to tidy up that jab. That jab must be tidied up because he can get countered and knocked out. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets knocked out in round 1 or 2 with an overhand left by a lazy jab, by throwing a lazy jab, getting knocked out. Mark my words, that's one of the ways Conor McGregor can win this fight. I would close that door. I would make sure that door is locked, closed, and would never happen. Well, highly unlikely to happen. I would barricade that door. My number one priority would be to barricade that door. Don't tidy up that jab. Don't let him get hit with the overhand left. And I think that's Nate Diaz's biggest liability. This one is Da5250. McGregor's coach Kavanaugh said earlier this week that he thinks McGregor will win the 4th round, with McGregor looking lean in training and that his comments, it seems like McGregor's team is planning on calculated patient approach. Do you think this is a smart approach, and could Conor McGregor win in a championship rounds? Yes, he could win in championship rounds. Will a knockout happen in round number 4? Statistically, no. Statistically, I should say not no. Less likely. Statistically, the more rounds go on, there's less knockouts in round 5 than there are in round 4. There's less knockouts in round 4 than there are in round 3, and so on. So statistically, the number 1 round for knockouts is round number 1. Will Conor knock out Nate in round number 4? Has he ever knocked out a guy in later rounds? You know, look at Johnny Hendricks. He's knocked out all his opponents in round 1, save Charlie Brenneman. I think it was in round 2, and it was early in round 2. So listen, round 1, round 2, you can get a knockout. Round 3 and 4 are highly unlikely. It's just the physiology of the body. Okay, you have less ATP, you have less glycogen storages. Your glycogen storages are trying to be recycled by the blood. Like, it's just not, you're not as powerful in round number 2. So it would have to be a cumulative knockout. So what does that mean? You're punching a guy so many times that you're draining his nervous system, you're draining his power, you're draining his fatigue, and now he's hanging by a thread. And you give him a shot that's less powerful, but you need less power to knock out a guy who's worn out. Nate Diaz doesn't really wear out, you know. So could happen. Not as likely as the earlier rounds. I think if Conor wins by KO, it'll be in the earlier rounds. Nate Diaz is not those type of guys that fade. You know, so, you know, you fight a guy who's a front runner. Yeah, you could knock him out in later rounds. Sure, it happens all the time. Not so with Nate. And, you know, I'm looking forward to see if that prediction comes through. Maybe John knows something. John Kavanaugh knows something. I don't know. I respect him highly as a coach. I think he's a very smart guy, and he knows his fighter well, and he knows the situation he's getting himself into. So he might be right. I might be totally wrong. I don't have all the pieces. But from the way where I'm standing, where I see it, Nate will be harder to knock out in the later rounds. So it'll be a cumulative knockout, and if there's a cumulative knockout, meaning by high level of punches, a volume punching type thing, it'll come from Diaz and not McGregor. McGregor is probably going to get, if he does get the knockout, it'll come earlier. A handy job. If you were Conor's coach, what would your in-fight strategy be? What would you have Conor focus on in camp? Okay, so I talked about this before. Just counter Nate. Just counter Nate. Conor should counter Nate. Play the counter punch card. Play the counter kick card. Don't lead. You got the speed. Even though he has the less reach advantage, he's going in and out faster. That's what I would do in camp. Yes, I would make him run more, but I would be, like I told you guys, I would get in his ear. It's about Conor McGregor's ear. Every time Conor tells me this is gonna be an easy fight, I tell him behind closed doors. I tell him to fucking get his head. You know, I would tell him get his head right. This is gonna be hell, and that's what's gonna make you grow as a fighter. Going through hell, you're gonna get punished in this fight. You're gonna enjoy it. You're gonna become stronger. I would scare him just a little bit. I wouldn't let him. I would let him talk in front of everybody. Yeah, but when we're behind closed doors, I would tell him, you know, this is gonna be hell. You know, and get ready for that. Get your mind right. That's what I would tell him. I think it's more of a psychological issue. Maslopi. How do you see the grappling going? Meaning BJJ and wrestling. Is it possible that Conor will be close to Nate when it comes to grappling skills? It is remotely possible. Is it remotely possible that we will see him out grapple Nate? Last time Conor was rocked and exhausted when he went to the ground. And okay, so you're saying when he went to the ground, he was knocked out. He was hurt and exhausted, and that's why he got schooled. You're asking me, will Nate, can Conor out grapple and out wrestle Nate? It's possible in certain positions. Conor McGregor's defensive jiu-jitsu seems to be the problem. In my eye, what I saw, it wasn't his jiu-jitsu the problem. Specifically, it was the defensive jiu-jitsu. And I believe it may be because of something I've seen many times, where the famous fighters don't get pressed by the younger fighters that are scared to offend the guy. That's why your defensive gets weak, because you're always on the offense. Guys never attack you. They respect you too much. And you might not know that they respect you. So, in my opinion, if he's in good positions, meaning if he's not in bottom side control, mount, if he's not mount, he'll do fine. He'll do fine with Nate. He'll do fine. He'll even take down Nate. I wouldn't be surprised if he takes down Nate a few times. I would not be shocked. I've seen some of his training footage where he shoots a nice double. He does. He's a quick guy. He moves well. No question about it. So I wouldn't be surprised if he takes down Nate. And if he falls in Nate's guard, he's fine. As long as he doesn't get caught in these defensive positions. 21_11. Nate and Conor have almost completely switched in terms of media recently. Nate is popping up everywhere while Conor seems to be taking a more relaxed route. Do you think this will have any effect on the fight, considering Nate has never had this much attention? Yes. If Nate gets wrapped up in the media can kill you, man. Media can drain you. I've done a lot of media, especially with George. It can be very mentally draining. You have people just all over you all the time. You kind of lose track of what you're doing. You have practice. You lose track of time. People are just talking to you, pulling your attention every which way. It can be very distracting, and you forget about your gameplay. You forget about your training regimen. It just kills your routine, and routine is really important for preparation. So, yeah, Nate's dealing with something he's never dealt before. All this fame and fortune and TV shows and PR, and people can get in the way, So I think it hurt Conor the first time around. He had to promote the fight. He did so much PR, man, that can cripple you. So in my opinion, my experience, PR with fights, it can get distracting. It's part of the biz. You got to do it. I'm not saying guys shouldn't do it. It's for the fans. You got to do it. But both guys should do it. And both guys should do the equal amount. Because it can affect your training. Absolutely, 100%. Good observation. Mike 11. Conor's striking defense appears to be mostly centered around head movement and slipping shots. Do you think this is an issue for him, specifically as he gets tired? It seems to lack the traditional defense, leaves him very vulnerable. Do you agree, or do you expect him to show improvement in this area this time around? Let me just move this chair around here. When you slip punches, it's not necessarily less economical. But I do agree with you that Conor, his movements are very explosive, and he doesn't have that gear where he kind of just does smooth movements. They're not explosive, they're just smooth. They're more seamless. He doesn't have that seam. Things go really fast. Like he doesn't use a smooth movement. He uses an explosive movement. It's hard to keep up. But I don't think his head movement's a problem. I think it was him swinging for the fences, really. He made himself tired more than Nate made himself tired. And Nate understands pace, and he realized that, hey, Conor ain't keeping up this pace very long. And I think he was patient and smart. He just showed more maturity. He showed a 5-round maturity that Conor doesn't have, that I think Conor can have discovered between now and then, between their first fight and now, this upcoming fight. He can have figured that out. Absolutely. People are smart. People figure stuff out. Conor can have figured this out. It remains to be seen. Good comment, though. Very good comment and observation. Andrew WH23. Okay, guys, we're running out of time. Nate Diaz often takes advantage of his reach and mainly uses a 1-2 combination that shook Conor. Very true. To establish his offense with a right hook, Stockton slap as his counter. Okay, so you're saying the 1-2 is his offense and that Stockton slap is his defense, is what Andrew23 is trying to say. Andrew H23. With Diaz always establishing that distance from his opponents when striking at such a high pace, do you think Conor is going to avoid those and deliver more significant strikes of his own in this fight? Listen, in the first fight, he landed too many significant strikes. I mean, tons. That wasn't the problem. He didn't have a good answer for the Stockton slap. That I agree with you. He did not have a good answer for that 1-2. That is the biggest danger. That 1-2 is deadly. That Stockton slap is annoying. It's problematic, but it didn't hurt Conor. You know, he got hit with it. He smiled. He laughed about it. It's that jab he got hit in round 2. He got hit with a good, significant jab, and he got hit with a hard 1-2. That 1-2, if Conor doesn't have an answer for that 1-2, it's gonna be a fight that's gonna be done within 3 rounds, 3.5 rounds most. If he doesn't have an answer for that 1-2, that 1-2 is a deadly beast. Nate Diaz has a reach advantage. True, that Stockton slap did protect him, and he was using a long Stockton slap. Very smart on Nate. You're right. That reach advantage is something to deal with, but only in terms of that Stockton slap. Nate Diaz wants to get this in the pocket, and he'll win. He'll win the pocket war. That Stockton slap is a hard thing for Conor to get around. Nate Diaz does it so well. I agree with you. Very good observation. Your question, though, was can Conor keep up the significant strikes at this high pace? If he stays composed, it's going to be a mental issue. If he stays composed, when he gets bullied, he's going to have to be humble about it and say, look, getting bullied is part of fighting. Getting bullied is part of fighting. You know, if somebody takes you down and slams you on the mat, you got to smile about it. You got to be like, you know what? You got me this time around, but I'm coming back. I've been bullied before, and it doesn't hurt my feelings, and it doesn't make me freak out. And I have this belief in me that I can get bullied around, but you can't finish me. You can't kill me. And guess what? I'm going to have my turn. And when I get my turn, I ain't going to let you slip out. That's the mentality you need to have. Whereas Conor is the bully. He's always the bully. And the second he got bullied, it seemed that he didn't want to play the game anymore. And that was the real issue. So, can he keep up the pace? If he can accept getting bullied. Is Conor's pride, is his love for himself so grandiose that he can't stand that sometimes he's going to get bullied? Sometimes he's going to get slapped. Sometimes he's going to be not embarrassed, but he's going to be put down. Can he deal with those emotions? Can he tell himself, yeah, sometimes I'm human, I can get put down, no problem, you know? But that ain't the end of me. I've been through this before. I love what Joe Rogan says, you know? What he says, you know, he hit the nail on the button right after the fight. He said, people said Conor McGregor has never faced adversity before. He's so right about that. Nate Diaz has faced tons of adversity. Conor McGregor has faced adversity. Yes, he's lost fights and come back, but not in a fight itself. He's lost fights, come back strong, and won, you know, beautiful comeback fights, etc. But he's never had an up and down in a fight. He's never been behind on the cards and come back. Man, that takes composure. That takes belief, true belief that you can weather the storm. But some guys, when they get put in a hard fight, they think, oh no, this is uncharted territory. This is really bad. They go in a negative spiral, and they don't believe that there's light at the end of the tunnel. And not having that belief, man, you're going down. Mike 11. What's the difference? Oh no, is that Mike 11? Yeah, Mike 11. What difference do you expect to see from Nate? He started very slow in the first round of their first fight. Do you expect him to come out and push hard and hard pace of all rounds? I hope not. I hope he does exactly within round 1, because if he pushes the pace in round 1, if he makes that mistake, in my opinion, it'll be a strategic mistake. Why? Because in my opinion, the reason he didn't get dropped in round number 1 is because he was back. He was riding that wave. He was backing away from Conor and kind of moving with those shots. If he walks into Conor's shots, if he tries to press forward and take too many on the button early, he's going to get stopped. Mark my words. Don't underestimate Conor's power and his precision. Nate needs to do the same thing. He needs to start slow and take it in the later rounds and bank in those later rounds and finish Conor by choking him by volume. Not going toe-to-toe round number 1. That's Conor's game. Don't play that game. He's a one round, and Conor in early rounds is an exceptional finisher. Do not play that game with him. Do not go in there toe-to-toe. Do not give him. What did Jose Aldo do? Do you think Nate should go do the same thing? Do you think Nate should pounce on him and think, oh, I'm going to do this for 5 rounds? Do not play with fire in round number 1. Do exactly what Nate Diaz. When you fight a McGregor, a guy who's very dangerous in round 1, you don't go toe-to-toe in round 1. You don't do that. Don't do that. You're giving Conor a greater chance of winning. He's got to do the same thing. Round 1, Keep the pace flowing. Don't let him have his way. Don't let Conor have his way. But move with the shot. Pull with the shot. When he hits you, move with it. Move backwards. Move in the same direction in the shot. If you're going forward into the shot, good night. That's my opinion. Musqua. Could you see Conor winning via late stoppage, TKO due to cuts? Diaz has a lot of scar tissue above his eye and was pretty badly cut early in round 1. Had Conor not gassed early in round 2, in the second round, could the cuts have been a factor in later rounds? Absolutely. Absolutely. Fights can be stopped in later rounds due to cuts. Absolutely. 100%. Nate Diaz gets cut. There will be cuts in this fight, very likely. It's very possible. Both guys hit a lot. It could get stopped to cuts. It would be atrocious to stop a fight like this to cuts. I don't think a doctor would have the guts to do that. I think he would be cursed, thrown out of the arena. The fans would probably just maul him and kill. I mean, it would be one of those soccer match referee calls where the fans jump on the referee. I think it would have to be a horrific cut. Can it get that bad? Absolutely. I mean, the man's been cut before. It's a possibility. I don't think it's going to happen, but it is a possibility. You are right. Good observation. Guys, we are way over time. I totally lost track of time having a good time with you guys. I'm going to pick one last one here. I'm kind of randoming it out. Here is the last question of the day. Fake Yarrow. McGregor's strongest asset has arguably been his ability to get in his opponent's head. Clearly, Nate's noggin is impermeable. How big a role does this typical mental advantage and this fight lack thereof play in the outcome? Huge. It's huge. What's the number one thing to do when you get bullied? What are we always told? Is stand up to the bully. Be such a problem to that bully. Bullies love easy targets. Bullies love guys who are submissive. They love it. It just snowballs their bullying. You're submissive, they become more bully. You're submissive. There are different types of bullies. But the narcissistic type, the ones who it's all about the more they bully you, the more their ego inflates, the more they feel good about themselves. Those guys, when you stand up to them, they go from really hot to really cold. Nate Diaz is one hard guy to bully. He is one hard guy to bully. He comes from a bad place where you get bullied all the time and this confrontation all the time. This type of bullying for him is just another regular night. It's just, he's going to be stressed. He's going to be in the heat of battle. He is comfortable in these horrible situations. Nate Diaz has been in these horrible situations time and time again. He is numb to it. He's been in these horrible, crazy, high-pressure situations. He's been around this thug life, this horrible, he's been around. He's from the hood. This guy's from a dark place. He can take it. He can take it, and it's huge, man. If you're trying to bully a guy who just doesn't get bullied, it is mentally deflating. I think I've beat this horse to death, guys. The reason why McGregor got tired, it was psychological at first, and then it was because of the 1-2. He got hit on the button. His legs gave out. The guy's a phenomenal athlete. I expect this. Okay, everybody wants to know what I think. I expect this fight, if it goes in later rounds, obviously it's going to go to Nate. We're all saying that, right? We're all saying that. But expect Conor to last longer because he's wiser. Not only because he's been running and doing extra cardio and eating right. That's going to help for sure. But Conor McGregor learned a lesson, and he's the type of guy that learns. He's not a dummy that just repeats the same mistake over and over again. He's a very sophisticated, intelligent human being. He learned from his fight. If Conor McGregor goes in there expecting hell, he can win this fight. If he goes in there thinking this fight's going to be easy, if he really believes that this fight this time around is going to be easy one, he's going to toy around with Nate, he's going to get surprised. What did I tell you guys? The worst thing to do in a fight is to be surprised. If you get surprised, you will get crushed. So Nate, if he surprises McGregor, it's going to be one of those easy fights. He's going to crush McGregor. I think McGregor is not going to be as overly confident this time. I think he's going to be more patient. I think he's going to have a healthy fear. It's going to be a very competitive fight. It's going to be a very heated battle. And Nate is going to edge him out because he is a better inside fighter. And this fight is going to turn out to be an inside fight. If McGregor gets put on horrible positions on the ground, he's toast. If he's in good positions, meaning neutral positions, being in the guard, whether he's on top or bottom, he'll do just fine. If he's in defensive positions, expect it to be Nate's night. Easy. Okay? If they're in neutral positions and they're scrambling, They're in dogfight position. They're in a kind of position that, like, you know, they're not fully in butterfly guard. They're kind of disconnected, hip heisting situations. McGregor's gonna do fine. And don't be surprised if McGregor double legs Nate. Wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if he misses a takedown, comes back up to the underhook, and they're fighting up against the fence, and it's kind of neutral. They're pummeling, and it's not a big deal. Not a big deal. McGregor's done plenty of pummeling. He's done plenty of wrestling. He's shot on legs. He's been taken down. He's hip heisted. He's got back up to his feet in practice, I'm sure, countless times. What he hasn't done is been in bad positions on a regular basis. Just my point of view from seeing him, how he moves in bad positions, he doesn't seem comfortable. So, guys, what I'm trying to say is Nate's going to take it. It's going to end up in Nate's world eventually, and Nate's going to take it. But this is going to be a hard fight, way harder than the first fight. Way harder. McGregor's going to fight. He's going to perform well. It's going to be a heated battle, and Nate's going to come out on top. Maybe not by finish, maybe by decision, but he's going to come out on top one way or the other. And I'm not giving Nate 70-30 here. That's not what I'm doing. I'm giving it, man, you guys are killing me with these. 55-45. 55-45 for Nate. In the later rounds, 60-40 for Nate. In the last round, you know, I'll give Nate, you know, 65-35. You know, he's gonna edge it out more and more. A hard one this time, guys. A hard one. It all depends on Conor McGregor's composure. All right, guys. That brings us to the end of this episode. Thank you very much for tuning in. As always, please like, share, and comment. And I will see you all in the next episode. Thank you.